All right. Hello, everyone. It's Amisha here with Maurice from Team Hydra Squad. And today we're going to do a live demonstration of Hydra Lister and SKU Grid. If you can see my screen and hear me well, go ahead and type "I can see and hear you" in the chat box. Y'all have to excuse all my little icons here. I gotta flip back over and make sure that you guys are commenting. Okay. All right, great deal, great deal. You can see and hear well. That's all right. I'm gonna go back to my presentation. Okay. So who are we? We are Team Hydra Squad, and we are a united group of e-commerce sellers that formed a team based around the usage of Hydralister and SKU Grid as our listing tool and repricer of choice. We saw the need for these tools, fully evaluated them, and used them in our everyday businesses. And as a team, we provide ongoing support to the dropshipping community as a whole, and especially our team. So let me ask you this. What are the problems that 99% of dropshippers face? You can go ahead and type your responses in the chat box. Well,
no one have any issues?
No issues?
No issues? I don't see anything in the chat box. What are some of the common challenges that dropshippers face? We're looking for some feedback. Clifford said out of stock.
Out of stock, that's a biggie.
Yes.
What else?
Thomas says price. I'm assuming price fluctuation.
Yeah, that's a big one too. I went ahead and put together a little list here. A lot of drop shippers feel like they don't have enough time to list. It takes them an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to put up one listing or 3 listings. That's just entirely too long. You're spending all day behind the computer. You have no time for your family, no time for your friends, and no time for yourself. You find it hard to max out your limits and take full advantage of the promotions that eBay runs on a monthly basis. And you find it hard to max out your limits and get those regular increases every single month. And we all know that it's important to get those monthly increases because that is your earning potential. You know, the more you can list, the more you can sell. If you don't list it, you can't sell it. Many of you are limited in the number of suppliers that you can list from. Some of you are only taught to list from 1, 3, or even if you're using a tool that allows you to list and or track your prices, that tool only allows you to track from 1 to maybe 3 suppliers. I've seen maybe as many as 23, but even with that, it has nothing on what we have here. Many of you don't have any protection against VERO violations. If you're not familiar with VERO, that is eBay's way of protecting some of their sellers, you know, large corporations and such, or people that have private branded products. They don't want you listing their products on eBay, so they'll flag you for a copyright infringement. And no, they're not finding you by your pictures. Usually it's by your title, but they have copyright on their pictures. If they find you using their title, they will slam you for copyright on their pictures because you're most likely using their images as well. Anyways, if you get these VERO violations, you get too many of them, you'll get your account shut down. And no, eBay publishes a list called the VERO list. They don't update it regularly. They admit that on their page. And it's not a complete list. There are many companies that are on the VERO list but don't contribute by having their own listing to be put onto the published list. So number one, you're not even checking this VERO list, I'm sure, before you list any items. And two, your tool that you're using for your listing is not checking that list for you either. The other issue is as you accumulate more and more listings, you'll find it hard to remember what you've listed already. And so you can get flagged for possible duplicate listing violations. And you have no protection against that unless you're going back through your hundreds or thousands of listings and figuring out if you listed something before. Another issue that many dropshippers face, you guys have no community support. Many of you have absolutely no support at all, or it's very limited. You can't get the help that you need, the training that you need, and the support that you need. And at the end of the day, bottom line, you're not making enough money. As far as repricing issues, many of you are getting too many out of stocks, having to cancel orders, and of course, that's a big no-no on eBay. You lose money when prices increase on you and you weren't prepared for it. Maybe you're checking your items against a wish list, or you're tracking them manually in a spreadsheet, or even you have a tool that you use, but it's not really efficient. Your current repricer can only track and monitor a limited amount of suppliers. Therefore, you're limited in what you can list. You might have a tracking and price management software, but it simply does not work. You're paying a lot of money for tools that don't work. You have limited ability to track multiple suppliers per item. If you have a hot selling item and that item goes out of stock, you want to keep it selling. So if you can source it from somewhere else, of course, you'd want your your repricing tool to be able to handle that and accommodate that for you, but your tool doesn't allow that. And you may even have a repricer that works for eBay, but if you're drop shipping on Amazon, it doesn't cover you for Amazon drop shipping. And at the end of the day, you're losing money. So you went from not making enough money to losing money, and that's not a good situation for anybody. What if we told you that you can list, track, and reprice your items from over 156 suppliers and counting? When we started with Hydra Lister and SKU Grid, we could list and track from 60 suppliers. That was back in August. As of today, there are 156 plus suppliers that we can use, and they're adding to that list all the time. What if we told you that you can create anywhere from 1 to hundreds of listings within an hour? And you could have protection from VERO violations. Not to mention protection from listing the same item twice. And you can have tools, finally, that are flexible, that you can pretty much get them to do whatever you want to do, and they actually work. You can finally gain your time and freedom back. Would you want to learn more? And these tools cost less than the ones that you're paying for. Like, that's the best thing in the world. And we have a very supportive community that cares, from the developers down to admins and moderators in the groups, and as well as just every community member. They all care about each other. They all help each other out. And that you can finally start keeping your profits. The goal is to get you making money and making a lot more of it. We can't guarantee any income or any sales, but if you use these tools, definitely the game will change for you. You can, simply put, you can do all of those things. So let's get into the live demonstration of Hydra Lister and SKU Grid. All right, so I'm in my Hydra Lister account. This is one of my test accounts. And basically, once you set up your little settings here, you pick your listing quantity, listing duration, location, PayPal email address, handling time, all those little settings. You just make those little settings one time. You set a selling price formula. You're allowed to account for any tax that you might incur when you purchase the items. And then you set your profit margins, profit margin percentage and dollar amounts, account for your eBay and PayPal fees. Your formula is done. And you can basically pick a template from the drop down. They have a drop down of quite a few templates to pick, or you can put in your own HTML code, that's fine. And that's it, really. You know, you get these little developer keys, you set that all up, save it, it's ready to go. And once you're all set up, you can list. We have the option of doing batch listings, which are, you can pop in anywhere from 1 to hundreds to thousands of items at a time, completely up to you. I don't necessarily advise that you go that fast, but you do have ability to do that. And since Hydralister is integrated with SKU Grid, at the time of listing, once the items are posted to eBay, they will be exported to SKU Grid for tracking and repricing. So you won't even have to do your repricer at all. It's all going to be done for you automatically. So I'm going to show you some batch listings really quick. So here's the little box to batch list. All you do, if it's Amazon, you can just dump in the ASIN numbers. If it's any other supplier, you can dump in the full URLs. You select the platform that you want to list on. With Hydralister, you have ability to list with one account on both the USA and the UK platform. So you would select the platform that you want to list on. And let's grab some items. Grab some cycling equipment. Okay, here's a nice little bike. I'm just going to right click this really quick and grab the link. I'm going to paste that, wrong box, I'm sorry. You'll have to excuse me. I'm outside in the cold and I can't really feel my fingers. All right, I'm just going to get rid of this junk at the end of the URL. Pretty much you can stop it after the ASIN number on Amazon listings. So there's an Amazon item. Let's grab an overstock item just to show you that I can list from multiple suppliers at a time. Trying to pick something not so huge. I guess this is fine. Okay, this is a good one too. I'm going to show you this because it has a variation. I see that there's colors, different colors that you can pick from. With Hydralister, you're able to select the variation on the front end before the item is listed. So, you know, you can see what you would do is just basically look at how the supplier is doing the variation. Okay, so they just name it by color. I'm just going to choose slate gray. So all I do is grab the supplier URL. Paste that in. Okay, and then if you're listing a variation, you'll put a semicolon after the link, and you'll put in the name of the variation exactly as the supplier had it. So this one, it was slate gray, spelled with G-R-E-Y. So that's how I have to list it. And when that goes over to SKU Grid, the correct color combination is going to be tracked and repriced for me. If there's more than one variation to select, like if it was a size and a color, you would separate the two with a vertical line. You know, it would be like slate gray large. This is an example. I have another item I want to throw into a batch here. All right. and this one. Okay, so you can use any type of scrapers or whatever that you have to grab URLs, ASINs faster, or you can just go down a page of products and just pop all the supplier URLs in there. I'm just going to do these little few for this example. If I wanted to set a custom formula other than the formula that I had in my settings, just for this particular batch, I could designate a formula right here. But I'm going to just use the regular formula, and I'm just going to hit add new batch. Okay, and that's going to say that I have queued 4 items. These items go into my item list, and you can see them here. And once they are posted to eBay, it's going to contain the eBay item ID, and that's going to be a link to your item on eBay. The status here will say listed once it's listed. And after it's listed, it's going to go through a process and get exported to SKU Grid for tracking and repricing. And once that is complete, it will say yes in that column. All right, so that's how you do a batch. Single item listings, I will show you that really quick. So let's just say I wanted to list small appliance. Just gonna grab this URL, right click and copy link address. Over here, paste it in. Select my selling platform, add new item. And of course, this takes a little bit longer on a screen share because my computer memory is being boggled down by a video, but it normally works faster than that. As you can see, based on your settings, a lot of this information is automatically populated. Your listing duration, condition will be new, but you can change that if you needed to. The category is automatically selected based on the item. If you feel the need to change that, you can select a different category from the dropdown. If your weights and dimensions are known based on the supplier. With Amazon, your weights and dimensions will typically be included. Overstock, they won't. You select if you want to do global shipping or not. Your shipping and stuff is already set. Your template is right here. You can switch to editor to see your template and see your listing. So basically, based on my template settings, this is what this would look like. You know, with overstock, the item number is part of the description, so you can erase that. I see that this is a refurbished item, so what I'm going to do, very important, I need to change the condition to manufacturer refurbished. Okay. The other thing, you're fully free to edit the description and title as you see fit. And as you can see, the title was already pulled into my listing. I can go ahead and edit my title in this box here. You'll see that there's a character counter. So I'm going to say counter top ice maker machine kitchen small appliance silver home, I don't know, bucket. Okay, so there's a title. I just hit update and description. And where my title was, you can see that that has now been updated in my listing. I didn't have to go back and copy and paste anything. And that's pretty much all you do. If there is a variation, you would just select it from the drop down. This is actually the recommended way to do your variation, so you don't have to guess if you did it correctly or not. The price has automatically been adjusted based on my settings. You can see that the supplier cost was $89.99, and based on my settings, Hydra Lister would list my item at $130.08. Handling time, all that is set. You have ability to rename your images if you wanted to, so you could do countertop ice maker. Okay, so and just to prove that my image was renamed, I can look at it. There it is. After that, that's it. Just hit list item. You're free to update these item specifics as well if you wanted to. All right, so you can see that my item was automatically listed and it will be exported to SKU Grid within 15 minutes. So I'm just going to go back and check on my item list here. You can see that 3 of my items out of the 4 were already listed in my batch. Actually, 2 out of my batch were listed, 2 were not. I received errors on 2. I'm going to show you what these errors are. The first error is found banned brand. Okay, this item right here is a, let's see, what is it? It's a DeWalt drill. And DeWalt is one of the companies that is on eBay's VERO list. And Hydralister has in place, even if you get a violation from a company that is not on eBay's published list, we have a way to add that information to our system to prevent you from listing it in the future, and as well as to protect the other community members. So I was prevented from listing a banned or VERO, a VERO company. I was prevented from listing their item. The other error message is item was already listed. This item, I've already listed it previously. That's why I wanted to put it into this batch so you can see I was prevented from making a duplicate listing because it already exists in my item list. My other listings have been listed, and I'll show you briefly what that looks like. Go down. And this is a batched item, so of course I didn't edit it and remove the item number or whatever, but there's a description, there's a picture right there, my title is in the listing, and you have your features. So that was it, really. Maurice, did you have anything to add on listing? Hello? Hello? The page is not changing. What? Oh, okay. Not sure where Maurice went, but I'm going to keep moving on. So that's how you.
I'm
Oh,
here.
you ready?
I'm sorry, I had to step away for a quick second. What did I miss? No, I was there. I'm literally like until like 10 seconds ago. You was just going over the errors in there. Did someone say something or?
Oh no. I'm gonna look back at the page and see if there are any questions. Somebody asked, can we add Canada?
Yeah, I thought I responded to.
Yeah, I see that.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Maurice was taking a nap. So that's how quickly you can do your listings. That was both batch listings, and you can see my batch is already done. It can take up to an hour for a batch to get started, but it really depends on how many items you're listing at the time. And your single item listings, they go through immediately. And it will take about 15 to 20 minutes for these items to export to SKU Grid, but we're going to go ahead and get started and start showing you SKU Grid while those are processing.
While you're flipping to the screen, I wanted to add this, Amisha, in regards to, you all, please excuse my voice. I have the flu. I'm pretty sure you can tell I'm sick. In regards to the VERO list, as you mentioned that Hydra Lister prevents us from listing items which have already been listed by your Hydra Lister, as well as items which are considered to be banned items. Another benefit of using Hydra Lister is that, as Amisha mentioned earlier, there are some companies that don't want their products sold on eBay, but they have not like participated in adding their company to that particular list. And so if the company is not added to that list, in a normal case, Hydra would not pick it up. But one of the things that we have done together as a community is that when someone gets a violation the first time from a company that's not on the list, those companies are also added into Hydra database. So in a lot of ways, Hydra's built-in list is more comprehensive than the list that eBay is providing for the sellers. So that's another benefit.
Absolutely. Here is the, you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, here is eBay's actual published VERO list. And you can see they have a disclaimer here. Some rights owners who work with eBay did not contribute to a page, so the list of brands is not comprehensive. They tell you flat out this list is not comprehensive. So even if you were following eBay's rules to a T and you were going through this list before you listed any item ever, even if you went through all of this and it's based on country, you still don't have the full list in front of you. So there's no way that you alone as an individual can protect yourself, but Hydra has put measures in place to protect you from getting those violations. And even if you get one from a company that is not on the list, they'll protect you in the future, as Maurice said. Let's see. I'm just checking the status of these items real quick and see if they, oh, look at that. Got moved to SKU Grid. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of these eBay item IDs and copy it. I'm gonna just move over here to SKU Grid. All right, so this is SKU Grid. This is the tracker and repricer. So once your items are listed with Hydra, they move over into SKU Grid if you have SKU Grid, and they are automatically tracked and repriced based on your settings. You know, you come in here, you make your settings one time, just like you did in Hydra, and that's done. You do have ability to edit individual items on an individual basis if you want a particular item to have a different formula and such. So you can see that this item has already come over to SKU Grid. Shows me my picture, the title. There's my eBay item number. You can see my supplier link. So when I'm ready to fulfill this order, all I do is I grab the item ID from the email notification or from eBay, paste it in. Boom, I have my supplier link. I can just open this link up and jump right to my supplier and place the order. If I'm using a cashback site, I can just grab the store item number, copy that, and then go through the cashback site to access the supplier. And then from there, I would paste in the item number into the search on the supplier site, and my item will pop right up. You'll also notice that my variation is showing here. When you do variations and you have something filled in for the variation, it will give you a drop down here. It says show all, but I already clicked it. And this will show you all possible combinations for the variation, just to make sure you can check your work and make sure that you've entered it correctly. If you don't have the variation filled in correctly, your item can be read as out of stock. But you can see my supplier price, the supplier stock, whether it's in stock or out of stock. And here's a link to my eBay item. And that's all done for me, basically. And, you know, with SKU Grid, when you come in, you know, let's just say you're importing your items from eBay, all you would do is import your items, and then you would come in here and paste in your supplier URLs and put in your variation if there is one. And you would come down to the bottom, you would turn your item, by default, when you import items, they're paused, so you would turn that off of pause, and you would hit update. That's all you have to do. Now, if you're listing with Hydra, your items come over to SKU Grid automatically. Everything is done, and they're automatically not paused. So everything is already being tracked and repriced for you. The variation is filled in correctly, and you can go on about your merry way. There's really not much to it as far as how that works. But the settings are very, very comprehensive. You know, it's a lot of settings back here, but that's because SKU Grid is so flexible. You're able to get email notifications. You're also, for Amazon, you're able to choose whether or not you want the item to be based on third-party merchant prices or Amazon.com/FBA. Like you want an Amazon fulfilled item, you can choose that. I select lowest fulfilled so that I'm only sourcing from Amazon.com or Amazon FBA. I don't want to source from third-party merchants, but if you did want to source from third-party merchants, you could change this to lowest new price or buy box. And that would apply. And if you did make one of those choices like lowest new, you can add in a fixed dollar amount, or I'm sorry, a fixed percentage to add to your items in the event that you have to source from a third party, because a lot of them charge shipping, etc. But it's a little bit more risky. I just choose not to do it. As far as your repricer settings, this one is really interesting because SKU Grid has something what you call safe repricing and super safe repricing. With that, if your item goes out of stock, it will not allow your item to go back to being in stock on eBay unless it's been in stock for at least 24 hours. This helps to protect you for with items that fluctuate. I know when listing from Amazon or Walmart, I've seen items go in and out of stock multiple times in a day. And if you're listing 30-day listings, that can, and your items are constantly being ended and relisted and ended and relisted, you know, that's a lot of insertion fee charges for you. And plus, you might make a sale when the item is truly back ordered or out of stock. So SKU Grid helps to protect you against that. Also, as far as price decreases, SKU Grid will wait until those decreases have stabilized before it drops your price if you have one of these features turned on. And that helps to protect you in the event of there was a site glitch and, you know, the price at the supplier went from $59 down to $5. You don't want SKU Grid dropping your price down that low. So it will wait and check that item again based on these settings. Here on the eBay US tab, this is where you configure your settings. So basically, SKU Grid can adjust your listing after every sale to a default quantity, and that helps to keep your listing alive. It also helps you to build the good selling history on that item and increase your sales rank on that item, which will ultimately get you more sales. You have the ability to control at what threshold do you want SKU Grid to be increasing your prices. So if the supplier price increases by $1, do you want SKU Grid to increase your price? You know, I kind of have mine set at 3, and for decreases, I'm less concerned, so I have that set at 5. But you know, you can make these numbers anything that you want. SKU Grid can also round your numbers for your pricing. So Hydra will list them at one price. It may have some odd cents, but when SKU Grid goes to reprice it, it can do the rounding for you and change the cents to any denomination here. Some people prefer not to have their 30-day listings be ended, and instead they want their prices increased to a very high amount to discourage buying. You can set that amount here. Otherwise, it will just go ahead and end your item, and if you're listing good till canceled and you have the out of stock option turned on, it will just knock your item out of stock and bring it back in stock when the item is available again. It also can relist your items. Sorry guys, I'm cold. So here you calculate your selling price formula. You just put in numbers. It's the same as Hydra. As a default, you want to make these the same as Hydra. I know mine are not here. That's just because this is just a demonstration, but you want these numbers to be the same as your selling price formula in Hydra as a default. That way your items don't come over with an override formula. If your Hydra settings are different from your SKU Grid settings at the time of listing, then they'll come over with an override formula, because SKU Grid assumes if you listed it a certain way that you want to keep it at that price or at that, that profit level. You can also set additional formulas based on supplier. Here I have a special little formula that if I'm listing an item from Amazon and the item is less than $35, this formula will add $6 to my selling price so that I can account for some shipping costs so that I don't have to take a loss if I have to pay shipping on that. Other than that, this formula here I have for overstock, that's to take out 5%, which is the cashback rewards that I get on the back end. I take that out of my selling price so that my prices can be a little bit more competitive, but you can do what you want to do. Wayfair, I just add an extra 5%. They stopped giving their cashback rewards, so I increased my prices on Wayfair a little bit. But you know, I mean, that's the settings in a nutshell. One other thing I didn't tell you about Hydra, when you do these single item listings, you also have ability to set a fixed price. So, you know, if the item, you know, you want to list it at $99 and you don't want that to ever change despite the supplier costs, you have ability to do that. And you also have the ability with the single item listings to set a different formula for that one item as well. I forgot to show you that. And that's it really. And Maurice, if you want to go ahead and explain how SKU Grid does the tracking and repricing and the notifications?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen then.
Somebody, did you see this? Somebody wanted you to show a different price for one item. I don't know.
Huh?
Someone had in the chat, they wanted you to show a different price for one item. Did you cover that?
A different price, like a different formula? Oh, like if I want to edit it and change it? Sure.
I don't know, Robert, is that what you want?
Like, okay, so this item in particular, oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll put that back on the share. Okay, this item in particular I listed, and I already have a separate formula for this one item, but let's just say overall, let's just say I set my SKU Grid to and my Hydra to give me a 12% profit margin, and that's totally based on the supplier costs. But let's just say on one particular item, I want to knock my price down really low because I want to go for a $1 profit. I'm going for volume, right, instead of high ticket profits. So in that case, as you can see here, I use reference ID spot to just make little notes for myself as to what I did. You can use that for anything you want. But basically, you just come down to the bottom. You see I have an override formula in here. Use default. Okay, if you don't have an override formula in here, this box that says selling price formula will be blank. And you would hit this button that says override default selling formula. When you hit that button, you click use wizard, and here you can define a new formula for this one particular item. Now, when I work with individual items, instead of working with profit margin percentages, I tend to work with dollar amounts in my brain. So I'll say, all right, I want to go for a $1 profit on this item. I want to go for a $10 profit, instead of saying I want 10% or 15% or whatever it is on that item. So I'll go ahead and put in the vendor tax. On this one, I'm not going to account for tax because the supplier rarely charges tax. It's just what it is. The margin percentage, if you're working with dollar amounts, you would leave this blank, or you can put a 0, or you can put a 1 if you just want a little extra cushion. So I'll put 1. All right, and fixed margin, I'm going to make this the dollar amount in profit that I want to get. So let's just say I want $10. Okay, if I want a $10 profit, then I want my minimum margin to also be $10. You plug in your PayPal fees and the transaction fee for PayPal and your eBay fees. And that's it. You hit update item. So I just fill in these numbers however I want to make the formula. I mean, don't use this as a general rule. Like that's just me doing a demonstration, but And then I would put here, you know, $10 profit, just so as a note to myself what I did with this one. And then I hit update, and that's it. I hope that answered that question. Okay. So I think I answered Robert's question. All right, Maurice, I'm sorry. I'm gonna give it back to you.
Okay. Can we get some feedback in the chat? How do you all like the presentation so far? Have you learned anything new about SKU Grid and Hydra for the people who have been using it? And if we have anyone on the webinar that is unfamiliar with the tools and were invited out here to see what the tools are about, you can also at the end ask your questions.
Let's see. Got a comment coming through here. Jenny says, love it. You guys are awesome.
Okay, can you all see my screen? Amisha, can you see my screen?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. Okay, in this section, we're going to talk about the repricing, how SKU Grid tracks and reprice the items. We have been having, you know, some concern, well, not necessarily concerns, but it appears that most users don't really understand how SKU Grid reprices items or take them out of stock, like what triggers SKU Grid to go into action, so to speak, and do the task that you set it to do. So to try to clarify this and to put the user's minds at ease, we're going to go over exactly what occurs when SKU Grid starts to scan items, you know, scan listings, scan the websites, and hopefully this will help you all know that the tool is working, and also give you some points to go by or a brief list to kind of like check before you may do a ticket or something like that. Because a lot of times when people do support tickets and they feel like, for example, something went out of stock and SKU Grid did not catch it, and it really wasn't SKU Grid's fault. It was just the way that the person may have had their settings set up in SKU Grid. So we're going to try to cover that briefly. Again, please excuse my voice. So these are some important facts that we need to know concerning SKU Grid. We're going to discuss the purpose of the notification, the email notifications, exactly how SKU Grid checks the items, and when, you know, SKU Grid makes the changes to your items or your listing. All right, so the first one, the purpose of the notifications. I did a video on this a while back when we first started, and I spoke with one of the developers, two of them, trying my best to understand exactly how it worked, and they spent time with me and explained to me exactly how it worked. And what I gathered from it is that, from this discussion, is that people are confused with the notifications, which is basically just some information that SKU Grid sends to the user to let you know that something has taken place on the supplier website. Some kind of change has occurred. This is the only, you know, this is the purpose for the notification, just to notify you that something had occurred. Note that this is not the time, or may not be the time, when SKU Grid actually reprices your listing or take it out of stock or bring it back in stock. So this is the sole purpose of the notifications. SKU Grid actually checks, or I'm going to say monitor, the supplier website and does some kind of I'm going to say primary check every 20 minutes. So within any given hour of your listing being up, or you tracking an item from let's say Amazon, SKU Grid is going to run what I call an information check once every 20 minutes or so. And what it does is gather this information at that particular time, and it stores it in its database for future actions. So at this time, you may get a notification. For example, let's say it's 1 o'clock and you put up a listing or set your settings at 1 o'clock, and then now it's 1:20. SKU Grid will do a check on the website to see if something had occurred on the website, gather this information, and you may get a notification that says, for example, that particular item is now out of stock. You may get a notification. However, at that particular time, it may not change your eBay listing to out of stock or to 0, because that is not the time for it to do so. It was just, that's just the time for you to get notification of it. Now, when SKU Grid actually takes action on your item, on your listing, number 3, this is the time that you have set in your SKU Grid settings that I think what is titled checker or something like that, where you have 1 hour, I think it's down to even like 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 6, 12, and I think even 24. So this is the time that SKU Grid is going to take action on the item. So let's say for example that you put up a listing at 3 p.m. as you see I have on the slide. Okay, you have your settings set for set to be checked every 3 hours. And when we say check here, we mean for SKU Grid to take action on the listing, and anything that had occurred on the supplier's website, whether the price went up, whether the price decreased, or it went out of stock, you have your settings set for SKU Grid to jump into action in 3 hour time spans. All right, so let's say you had a listing up, you put a listing up at 3 p.m. So technically the first time that SKU Grid is even allowed to do anything to your listing, as far as changing it, increasing the price, decreasing the price, taking it out of stock, is 6 p.m. This would be the first time that it would be allowed to take action. So in that time span of 3 hours, SKU Grid would have already checked the supplier website a total of at least 9 times or so. And you may get notifications saying that the item is out of stock, the price decrease or price increase. However, nothing is going to change on eBay because your time for any changes is set for 3 hours, which would be, in this case, at 6 o'clock. So if you got a notification at 3:20 said that it went out of stock, then you got another notification at 3:40 and it says price increase, your item is still priced the same way it was from the last check on eBay. Nothing has changed. It won't change until 6 o'clock. So hopefully that clarifies. I've conveyed that clear enough for people to understand that when you get those notifications and you have your time set really high, there is room for you to get hit with an out of stock or price increase or anything like that. One of the solutions that we use, especially with items that we do not want to let go of, but they may be kind of like what I call problem items. Like I have one I'm going to show you, but I have sold it many times, and I know I'm not going to be able to sell it anymore after this because everybody might try to sell it. But if we have the items that are selling but they are still like I would call like a problem item, one of the solutions that you can do is when you get the notification, you can go to the item and force reprice. That way you would know for sure that any change which had occurred on the supplier's website, you have now forced that change in your eBay listing. So you would be safe with that. I guess I'm the only one on here with the mic. Hopefully that was clear enough. I get some feedback. You can give me some feedback in the chat. If I didn't convey it clear enough to you, if you have any questions right now concerning that, I just put it in the chat box, and Misha, if you see it, just let me know, and I try to clarify anything that I missed. But basically, that's it. with the repricing and the taking out of stock. And I mean, because the tool works, and it's just that we have to get in the habit of really trying to build our business and not being scared to do what is necessary to build our businesses the right way. We are not going to be able to milk every, like, when we purchase our credits, it appears that some people are trying to make their subscription stretch as far as they can. For example, I was speaking with one young lady. I think she got hit with an out of stock, but she had her repricer scheduled for 12 hours. That's truly too long. To me, that's truly too long to have your settings set, because within that time period, these websites, the stuff can go in and out of stock multiple times, several times within a 12-hour time span. And as I just explained, you see that the first time that SKU Grid is going to take action is at that 12-hour mark. So everything that is going on between that first hour and the 12th hour, SKU Grid is basically just monitoring it and putting it in his database. It's not doing anything on eBay to reflect what is going on those websites until that 12th hour, if you have yours set at 12. So that's something to take into consideration. And again, if you have an item that is a problem item, or you get in the notifications, you can easily just force reprice, and that will solve that problem. One of the things that one of the benefits I want to point out while we are going over this, I'm going to give an example of how powerful SKU Grid is. It's so much to this particular tool that we can't really get into it with an hour-long webinar, and we are running up on time now. But this is one of the things that I struggled with before I started using the tool. This item right here, as I said, I know I'm not going to sell it anymore. I have sold this item, depending on the price, as high as $110, and it was usually like maybe $10, $13 profit, but it was selling like crazy. And before using SKU Grid, I had issues I had to deal with, because when I was using the old way, or the manual way of monitoring my items, that is, you go to the website and they might have a wish list or something like that, or you will save it in your cart. Like some people use Amazon, and you have this section where you can save the items. And when you log into your Amazon account, it gives you like a call out, and it lets you know the items which there has been some kind of change. It may have been price decrease, the item might have gone out of stock, so on and so forth. And that's how many of us used to manually monitor our stuff. We have to go in there every day, many times a day, and check it and see what it says. The difference with Walmart is that the way their watch list is set up, it was set up pretty much the same way, but it didn't give you any call outs, and plus it was just like your list. And if your item was out of stock, it would be like gray. The price would be gray, some of the words would be gray. You knew it was out of stock, then you see out of stock under it. But one of the issues that I ran into is that sometimes, many times, items on Walmart cannot be shipped. So technically they would still be in stock, but they would not be available for shipping. When I started using SKU Grid, it took care of that problem, because SKU Grid will actually also take items down from eBay, or in this case, I have a store, so my stock is at 0. As you can see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but if you look to the right where it says eBay US and go down to the bottom, you see the stock 0. So on eBay, it has it down to 0, so no one can buy the item. But if I go, I just took this earlier just to show a recent example. But if I go, okay. But if I go to this this page, and as you can see, sorry about that. As you can see, the item is still, the pricing is still blue or whatever, but it's not available for shipping. It's not available for shipping. So SKU Grid caught this, and even though technically the item is in stock, for a drop shipper, it's out of stock. And I think that this is a wonderful feature of SKU Grid when it comes to drop shipping. Amisha, that's all I wanted to share with that. I guess you.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself.
So, is there any questions in the chat box? Because I can't see the chat box right now concerning how SKU Grid reprices.
No, we just had a comment here that developers need to consider abandoning credits and going with a straight subscription. But I just kind of responded to that in the chat because, you know, although many of you are not putting up that many items, and when we say that many, like a few hundred maybe in a day is not really that many. In the grand scheme of things, with what Hydra and SKU Grid allow you to do, we do have members that are putting up like 20,000 items in a day. You know what I mean? So if they went to a straight flat rate plan, it kind of wouldn't be fair. It would be very taxing on the system. You'd have to continually pay for upgrades and such like that with servers and whatnot. And when I say there's multiple people that do that, there are multiple people that do thousands of listings a day. And you know, at the end of the day, it's a business, and you just have to pay to play. You know, that's just it's just what it is. I get it. I understand the concern, but you do have to pay to play. And with something as powerful as what SKU Grid does, it's very, very comprehensive. So, you know, and they get it, and I'm sure that they don't mind. And, you know, when you're doing volume like that, those people are paying well into hundreds of dollars a month just for SKU Grid because of the volume of listings that they have and probably the frequency at which they're checking. But, you know, for somebody that has, you know, 100,000 listings or 400,000 listings, and they're having each of those checked every single hour, is it fair that that person is charged the same, you know, maybe $14.99 that a person that is putting up 50 listings a day is charged? Not really. They're using more of the system's resources, and therefore should be charged accordingly. So that's kind of how that works. What else? The other thing that I wanted to show you guys was SKU Grid. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. The other thing that I wanted to share is that you have ability to track multiple suppliers for one particular item. So let's just say I'm going to look up this Keurig. I can't even spell right now. There it is. Okay, so I have an item that's out of stock. Okay, you can see there's a supplier link. There is the stock level of the supplier. It's out of stock. I can verify this by clicking the supplier link open. You will see that the item is out of stock. So I have a handy dandy little Chrome extension called Price Blink installed, and it quickly tells me where I can find this item at. And even if I didn't have that installed, I could quickly do a Google search on this item and see where I could find it at. But right here, I can click on compare prices, and boom, I have all these other places I can source from. So, you know, one of my favorites is Overstock. So I'm going to hit this and open this up. And I'm also going to take Casa. So let me, okay. So if I wanted to add an additional supplier for this one item, all I'm going to do is copy this item number from eBay. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and you see you're already on add a single item right here. And I like to do it this way because I'm still looking at the information.
Amisha.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I got a few comments saying they can't see your screen.
They can't see my screen? Oh, you know why?
I stopped sharing mine.
I didn't click on myself. I'm
Yo,
sorry. I always do that. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so what you missed, I typed in Keurig here just to come up with an item that I knew I had that was out of stock. So you can pretty much search for anything in this grid. You can sort by columns and such, but it was faster for me just to type in Keurig. And once I did that, it filtered out all of my other items and only showed this one. So as you can see, this is the supplier URL. The supplier stock level is out of stock. And my item on eBay, you see my stock is 0.
Misha, hold on. They still saying they can't see your screen. Can you all type? Rather, you can see it now. I just got like 2 more came through, like saying they can't see it.
I'm sorry.
I don't know whether it was delayed or not. You got it. Now, before you start, let's make sure they can see it because we already.
Yeah, I see. You said you can see me now. Can everybody else see? Should be looking at the chat. I don't see any comments from anybody else.
Can you all see it? Someone please put something in the chat so we would know. Clifford, can you see it? Can you see her screen?
There we go. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Sorry, guys. So like I said, I was just trying to quickly get to an item I knew was out of stock. So I just typed in Keurig here in the search, and it filtered out all of my other items and is only displaying the one item I was looking for. You can use this search to search for anything. So I pulled up this item. Here's the supplier URL. You can see the stock level for the supplier is none. My item on eBay, you see the stock is 0. So because the supplier was out of stock, SKU Grid has knocked my item out of stock. I also have ability to see a history. If you click this little history link, this contains helpful information. You can see how long an item has been out of stock, and all those little checks that Maurice was talking about that SKU Grid does, that information is recorded here in this database when SKU Grid reprices your item. So you can see this item, this is the stock column. It's been out of stock for quite some time now. I had it listed since January the 9th, it's been out of stock for me, and it has not come back in stock yet. So I'm gonna close that out. But what I would do is I clicked on the link to the supplier, and because I have an extension in my Chrome browser called PriceBlink, it shows me other suppliers where I can source this item from. So I just clicked on 2 of those. I clicked on Overstock and Casa because I know that they are integrated within SKU Grid. They're 2 of the 156 stores that we can use. So here you see the item at Casa. It's $121. And on Overstock, it's taking a while to pull it up. Let me see here. Okay. On Overstock, it's $149.95. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 additional suppliers for this item. And what happens is if you have additional suppliers for one eBay item ID or Amazon, either one, because SKU Grid does handle Amazon drop shipping as well, your price and your stock will be based off of the lowest price in stock supplier. So your item will be kept alive until all 3 or however many suppliers you put in here have went out of stock. And if you have multiple that are in stock for that one item, then your pricing is going to be based off of the lowest priced supplier. So with Overstock, the item didn't immediately pull up, so I'm just going to hit Control F and search 350, and there it is. This is it right here, $149.95. Okay, so same coffee machine. So how I do it, I have my item pulled up here. I'm just going to copy the eBay item number. As soon as I can get my mouse working right. Okay. And then I come down to the reference ID. You can use this field for whatever you want. I tend to do alternate supplier. I tend to put that in there just so that I know from my reference, if I ever pull this up, that this wasn't my first choice supplier. This is just a backup. You can, label that whatever you want. Also, the other place that you would need your eBay item ID, if you're using compare to item URLs, I don't, but if you were, you would do www.ebay.com/ITM/that would be your compare to item URL, would be your eBay item link, and you would just paste in your item number after that. I don't use this, so totally up to you. I would come down and select the marketplace as eBay US. You would do UK if that's where you're selling at, or you could do Amazon if this is an Amazon listing. And for reprice ID, I paste in the item number. Pause repricing is no. And then I'm just going to come back up here and I'm going to grab my supplier URL. So first I'm going to put in CASA's URL. Okay, and that's it. And I hit add item. All right, I'm going to repeat the process again because I'm going to put in a third supplier. I'm going to put in the overstock one. So now I have Hayneedle, Overstock, and CASA. I'm going to type in Keurig, and you see now I have 2 suppliers. I'm going to add a third. You can do as many as you want. SKU Grid can handle it. So same thing. I'm just going to copy the eBay, and I hope you see how I did that. So, you know, I can pull this up. Like if I'm sourcing the item and I'm ready to fulfill the order, I just put in the eBay item number. And right here, I can see I've got these suppliers to choose from when I fulfill the order. Everything else is filtered out except for things pertaining to this eBay item ID. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to do the same thing again. Alternate supplier number 2. You know, whatever you want, that, you know, it can be whatever you want it to be. Select my marketplace. I'm going to put in my eBay item ID down here. And I'm going to come back up and put in my supplier URL from Overstock. If it had a variation, I would enter that too, but this item does not have a variation. And hit add item. So now you will see that I have 3 suppliers for this item. It's saying that the Overstock one is out of stock. CASA is in stock. So what will happen is it'll take about maybe 15-20 minutes, but after the 15 and 20 minutes are up, SKU Grid is going to automatically knock my item back in stock because I have a supplier that is in stock for this item. So my pricing will be based off of this 121, which actually was lower than the 129 that I had before. So it's going to be based off of the $121. And that's, I mean, that's how you do multiple suppliers with SKU Grid. The other thing that I wanted to show you is I have an item. Let's see. I already have this item listed. Okay. E0020 RRMJ4. I have this item? No. Maybe not. Okay. The other thing, as Maurice was saying, I'm gonna go to Amazon real quick, is if you have an Amazon item that is there's no more Amazon fulfilled sellers left, you have ability to source that item from, oh, I'm sorry, that's why it didn't work. B0020. Yeah. Okay, so I have an item right here. This is the item that I wanted to show you. The reason why this is out of stock, now some people might say, oh, well, why is my item out of stock when it's available on Amazon? Well, I'm set in my SKU Grid settings to only source from Amazon fulfilled sellers. Okay, so if it's a third-party merchant fulfilled item, I don't want to source from them. So as you can see, my variation is correct. This one had 3 selections to make a variation. You can see in SKU Grid, 20 gallons, gray, 1. That's how Amazon had it. 20 gallons, gray, 1. And you can see in the buy box, we have shipped and sold from Shoplet. That's a third-party merchant. If I'm ever questioning this, I can click on however many new sellers they have, 13 new. I'm gonna click on that. I go over here. If there were any Amazon fulfilled items or Amazon.com, it would display fulfilled by Amazon in a big red box here over the supplier. All of these are third-party merchants. So although this item is available on Amazon, it is not available through Amazon fulfillment. It would always be a third-party merchant. I choose not to deal with them because of possible extended shipping times, overseas sellers, as well as bad customer service. And a lot of these people are drop shippers too, and maybe their tracking and repricing tool isn't as comprehensive as SKU Grid. They may actually be out of stock. So I choose not to deal with third-party merchants, but that's totally up to you. But just wanted to show you that that's how that works. If you're set at lowest fulfilled for your Amazon settings, and there's only third-party merchants available, your item will be knocked out of stock, and that's just a safety measure for you. And that's
amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to add to that. I wanted to add the reverse to that. If they don't have their settings set for lowest fulfilled, and they have it set where they can actually source from a third party, the same thing would happen if, say, you sourcing from a third party merchant, and you started off, the item was let's say $15, and then that particular seller went out of stock, and then another one gained a buy box, and let's say that one was $25, right? Their SKU Grid would be tracking the new one that's in the buy box, right? Because they did not stipulate only fulfilled by Amazon, right?
Yeah, it would be buy box if they set it to buy box, or it would be lowest new. They do have the option to do lowest new, which would be the lowest new seller, whether it's Amazon or a third party merchant, or they could do buy box, which would be Amazon or a third party merchant. Okay. It really depends on their settings.
Exactly, and that's what I was trying to point out, because I know we had a few cases where some people had some things that sold, but when they went to Amazon to source it, it was like $10-15 more. But what come to find out, it was actually a different seller. So
that's they didn't choose lowest fulfilled in their settings.
Exactly. That's the point I was trying to make. Like, you got to make sure that your settings are the way you want them. You know, if you don't want to, if you don't, I mean, it's like SKU Grid is so comprehensive. It's real flexible. So if you don't tell it what to do, you know, or you leave room for it to do what it wants to do, it's going to do it. You know, it's like it's going to track something. So the more you specify what you want done to a listing or listings, the better off you'll be.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm just going to briefly talk about here. I mean, that was pretty much the demonstration, general overview of Hydralister and SKU Grid. Of course, there are much more features, and we can go on for days about that. But now we're going to talk about the benefits of partnering with Team Hydra Squad. If you are invited here today by a member of Team Hydra Squad, it's because they care. They care about you and your drop shipping business, and there are benefits to signing up for Hydralister with one of these people. We have team benefits. So as a member of Team Hydra Squad, you'll receive ongoing training and support. Paid Hydra members get added to a team rotator. We publish YouTube videos, and we put our team rotator link inside of the description for all of those videos. So any organic traffic going to those videos, any clicks to that link will be distributed amongst our entire organization. Okay, so you may end up with paid Hydra Lister referrals that you didn't even know, and you didn't even have to go out there and market to get. I mean, of course, we can't promise you anything, but this is just something that we do to help our members. Also, the rotator link is also on our team website, which is teamhydrasquad.com. So the same thing applies. Any organic traffic coming to that would be distributed amongst the entire organization, not just us as far as our leadership panel. We do have an entire leadership panel, but not just us, but everyone that is a paid member is on this rotator. From our team, I should say, not Hydralister as a whole, but from our team. Also, we have our own private Facebook mastermind group. So you can find, Hydralister and SKU Grid have their own groups, but we have our own Team Hydra Squad group, which as a member, trial free, or paid member, you'll get access to our Facebook group where we'll provide tips, tricks, training, and additional support as well. You get free marketing materials. The page you're looking at was developed by myself, and it allows our Hydralister members from our team to use their own Hydralister and or SKU Grid affiliate URLs, so that when they share our pages with the world, they get to code the join buttons with their referral link, so they can get credit for the traffic that they produce, and they can have their nice custom pages to use instead of just a regular company page. Pretty soon we're going to also start blogging as well, and all of our blog posts will be able to be coded to your affiliate links, so that you can share real value instead of just sales pages all the time. So be on the lookout for that. We just like now, we do free weekly hangouts and setup sessions for new referrals, and we do weekly hangouts at least 3 days out of the week. And you guys can be looking forward to that. We definitely invest our time into developing our referrals. And coming soon, we are in production for the most comprehensive eBay training course and social site exclusive for our paid Hydralister members. So with that, they will be getting their own secret access to our membership site, which will provide them with an entire eBay course with everything that is working for us and our methods. And I mean, literally, we are breaking everything down to the nitty-gritty and giving you all of the nuts and bolts. There is no hiding information behind levels and you have to pay for this and pay for that. Like, we're not doing that to you. We're basically giving you it all for free as a member of Hydralister and Team Hydra Squad. So with that, we'll open up for Q&A if you guys have any questions. And anyone that is new to Hydralister and SKU Grid, if you are going to go ahead and get started today, you can click the links below this video and go ahead and get started. And you would be signing up with a member of Team Hydra Squad if you do. And because you did that, we will, after the Q&A is over, we'll take like maybe a little 5-10 minute break, and we'll come back and we will stay live on the air and get you guys set up so that you're ready to go and start listing. So with that said, are there any questions? No questions? We covered it all? I know we went overtime. I'm sorry, guys. Can everyone still hear me?
I'm still here.
I see we still got people online.
Somebody came from
waiting
the chat.
if anybody has any questions.
Marty has a question.
Questions, but they'll wait till tomorrow. All right, no problem, Marty. Gotcha. What do you set your repricing times for? Everybody is different. I mean, we can do anywhere from an hour to 24 hours. During Christmas, I was at every hour, of course. Now I'm working my way back up and feeling the market out. So right now I'm at 3 hours. Where are you at, Maurice?
I have, I'm like a bandit. I have mine like 1.
Every hour?
But, yeah, because I got a lot of credits. Let me say something about that. With our training that's coming out, as I said before, we do not profess to be gurus or experts or anything like that, but we are very observant, and we have some strategies and techniques that we have tested for ourselves. And with the training that we're going to have coming out, it's going to be a total mindset shift for you all. And one of the things that we have to get into or get used to is really pacing ourselves to build our business, and taking care of the most important things. For example, right now we are talking about repricing and the time limit that we set for repricing. So it's obvious that this is a very, very important issue with the dropshipping community. So we do not want to brush over it and take any shortcuts. If you have to reduce some of your listings or the amount of listings that you put up, to make sure that your items are monitored properly, I mean, like as often as possible, then do that. I know we have been taught, and which is, is half truth. We have all been taught to list, because the obvious logic of it is that the more items we have up, the more likely we are going to sell more items. But there's other aspects that we will not neglect in our training that also contributes to you making sales. As I mentioned, I think on the last webinar, or I might have put it in a chat or something like that, for a long time, and I'm not bragging about it because it's really not good, but for a long time, I never had up over, say, 60 listings. I was averaging about 45 listings, and I was making anywhere from 2 to 5 sales every day. And that may not seem like a lot, but when I'm making anywhere from, and mostly it was like $10 or better. So if I'm making $10, let's just say I'm making $10 on each sale, doing 2 to 5 sales every day consistently. I had some high ticket items too, but I'm talking about consistently every day making this. I mean, this is good progress, and I didn't have up over 60 items. Whereas other people had 200, 300, 400 items up, and they were in my inbox asking me, what are they doing wrong? So I say that to say this in regards to repricing. If you have to scale back some, I'm not saying reduce it to 40 items or 50 items, because the more items you have up, of course, the more, likely you can sell more. But don't let that take precedence over monitoring out of stock and price changes. That is more important, because if you have up 500 or 1,000 items and you're not making any money, and then when you do make a sale, you have your tracker tracking your item every 12 hours or once a day, and now it's out of stock. No good came from that. No good came from the fact that you had up 1,000 or 2,000 items. So whatever you can afford, just pace yourself. And I don't think that it should be priced. I don't think that it should be monitored over 3 hours, personally. And to me, I think three hours is too long. But again, we have to, work with what we got, and scale up as we can. We should try to strive to get to the point where everyone can make enough money to have their items tracked, their quality items tracked once an hour. Change or reprice once an hour. So just take that into consideration. Cut out some of the fat, that's on your listings, because it's not making you any money over a period of time. Let them go. It's just costing you money, regardless whether you make a sale or not. It's costing you money because it's costing you credits. So again, I wouldn't go beyond 3 hours. I wouldn't go beyond 3 hours. If my listings forced me to go beyond 3 hours, I would just cut some of them. I'm serious.
Maurice is not playing games. All right. Anybody else have any questions?
What Pete said? I don't know what they said. What link do I use to promote to do the promotion?
I think he meant like to market this live demo.
Oh, okay.
That would have been the link you came in on. And you just put in your Hydralister and SKU Grid affiliate ID in the appropriate spot, and that would code the buttons to you, and you can share it with the world. Pete has already signed up. I believe he signed up under me.
I'm gonna.
I have a hard time remembering everybody. I'm sorry.
Can I share my screen right quick?
Yeah.
If I can get on the right page, I'm just gonna, because what I did was you all might have seen it in a few a few places on Facebook. Amisha put up this. I think this is it. You can see my screen? Amisha,
yeah, I see it.
you can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she put up this. I just copied it from Facebook. And this is the link you're talking about, right, Amisha? For the Hangout?
Yep, absolutely.
And the only thing I did was put my referral. If you can see this, who was that, Pete? If you can see this after the question mark, all of this is my referral link information for Hydra and SKU Grid. So when she put the Hangout, where it stops at, right here, Amisha, behind Hangout. And
yeah, Maurice, I didn't even notice yours is like that. You need to change REF to HID.
HID for Hydra.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I made it simple. HID, Hydra ID, SID.
Yeah, and SKU. I was copying too fast because SKU is right there. But she did this. So if you can see, I'm actually separating this. So this, do I need to add a question mark in there, Amisha?
Yeah.
Question mark goes with the actual link.
Yep.
So we are live, and y'all see I don't know nothing about this stuff. All right, so that part is actually connecting the first part to me. So when you promote it or whatever, you just join your Hydra and SKU Grid information to this link and do a post or something like that. If you look on, I think my page, Jenny, I think Karen. Yeah, I seen a few other people, and that's the only thing we did. You know, somebody, she made this, the content that's above it. I think she also you had a picture up there, looked like the woman was pulling out her hair or something, and wrapped up in some tape or something. It's frustrated, yeah.
And you know, how appropriate was that packaging tape? You know, we're drop shippers and eBay sellers, and you know, you got to lock stuff up sometimes if you're selling out of your house. So she was wrapped up in packaging tape, and I said, you know, are you in a sticky situation? So yeah, I mean, I just took something, you know, a clever little picture, and I just made a little paragraph here.
Exactly. So I just wanted to show that. That's just how easy it is. You see, I know nothing about this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I did. I copied what she put up there. Add my affiliate link information to the Team Hydra Squad Hangout link. And when anyone come in through this link, it's going to code it to me. So whoever you invited out, or whoever clicked on your link on your Facebook page, or whatever social media outlets you put it on, it will automatically be coded to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop sharing.
And we're going to have much more marketing materials where that came from. I mean, we're going to give you guys so much stuff that, you know, you're just going to be light years ahead of everybody else.
Exactly.
And, you know, and our goal is just to keep producing content. And, you know, because there's a lot of you out there who might not know what to put or how to make a sales page or whatever. So we got you covered on that. Any other questions?
Who was this? Somebody's asked, is there a cost to join our group?
No, you just have to be a Hydra Lister member.
Yes. Hydra Lister. We focus on Hydra Lister and SKU Grid. Mm-hmm. So basically, like the eBay training that we're going to be coming out with, we could actually sell it. Well, we most likely will put it on the market, but as a token of our appreciation for people joining up with us in Hydra Lister and SKU Grid, we're going to offer all of that to our team members for free. So it's no charge to join the group. You just have to be a Hydra Lister and or SKU Grid user. Marty says she's already sharing SKU Grid and only in her trial period. That's the way to do it.
I saw that, Marty. I saw your post today.
Someone say, if I do a landing page, do you approve it?
Well, you're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
If you know how to do landing pages, that's great. You do whatever you want to do. I just do this to help a lot of the people that don't have the resources or know how to do it or don't want to pay to get it done, and you know, yada yada. We just do it to help the team. But you're free to do anything that you want on your own. This is not an MLM company. You know, there are no restrictions on, you know, what type of marketing materials you can produce. So you're totally free to do whatever you want to do. The Hydra link, not the SKU Grid link. I'm confused on that.
I have to mute for a second.
Are there any other questions? I know it's late, guys. It's 10:36. If there's no more questions, we're going to go ahead and close out. We'll take a couple-minute break, like maybe five minutes, since we ran over time. Can't take a 15-minute break. But if you are new and getting started today, go ahead and put in the chat box that you want a setup session so that we can walk you through getting your settings set up correctly, and we'll go ahead and help you get started tonight. If not, if there's nobody that's taking advantage of that tonight, that's perfectly fine. We'll just see you guys next week. So just let us know in the comments. All right, guys, since there's no more questions, we're going to go ahead and close out the broadcast, and we will see you guys next week. We'll be doing it all over again. Have a good night.